Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON West, outpost of ISKCON Seshadripuram for the Sunday evening Love Feast program. As usual, we will be having the Bhagavad Gita class. For the last 2.5 years, we have been having this verse by verse right from first chapter. Now we have reached the 6th chapter. We are doing 16th, maybe today 16th and 17th verse. We are very happy to have His Grace Padmanabha Chitta Prabhu who will be giving us this class today. Prabhu has been giving very wonderful classes so far. So very eager to hear from him today. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam.
Once again, welcome for all of you on behalf of ISKCON West Outpost Seshadripuram. This is the way Vidura Prabhu mentions. Right. Fine. So, as Prabhuji mentioned, today's verses. So, with the blessings of senior devotees like Vidura Madhav Prabhu and Shruti Matadi's, father from Nellore, and all other Vaishnava and Vaishnavis, with all your blessings, let me try to repeat whatever Prabhupada conveyed and Krishna conveyed to us. Little effort from my end, and once again, thanks to Vidura Prabhu and seeking for your blessings and to convey whatever there in the scriptures. So let me share the screen. I hope screen is visible. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thanks. So, Bhagavad Gita 6.16. Nati asnatastu yogasti na chaikantam anasnataha na chati swapnasilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. Nati asnatastu yogasti na chaikantam anasnataha na chati swapnasilasya jagrato naiva cha arjuna. Nati asnatastu yogasti na chaikantam asnataha na chati swapnasilasya jagrato naiva cha arjuna. Word to word translation. Na, never. Ati, too much. Asnataha, of one who eats. Two, but. Yogaha, linking with the Supreme. Asti, there is. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ekantam, overly. Anasnataha, abstaining from eating. Na, nor. Cha, also. Ati, too much. Swapna shilasya, of one who sleeps. Jagrataha, or one who keeps night watch too much. Na, not. Ever. Cha, and Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required. To keep the body and soul together, there is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness. According to the Bhagavad Gita, animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bunjanti tetva aham papa ye pachanti Atmakar, Atmakarana. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna consciousness person can attain perfection in yoga practice, nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting practice yoga. The Krishna consciousness person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Here, the purport of 16th verse ends. So we will move to next verse also. Yes, 17th verse. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chetasya karmashu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha युक्ताहार विहरस्य युक्तचेतस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः युक्ताहार विहारस्य युक्तचेतस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः. Word to word translation. Yukta, regulated. Ahara, eating. Viharasya, recreation. Yukta, regulated. Chestasya, of one who works for maintenance. Karmashu, in discharging duties. Yukta, regulated. Swapna avabodhasya, sleep and wakefulness. Yoga, practicing of yoga. Bhavati, becomes. Dukkha, diminishing pains. Translation. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Perfect. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only one in practice to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered according to the Bhagavad Gita 9.26 vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, as Krishna consciousness person is always altered in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyartha kalatva. A Krishna consciousness person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakura Haridasa would not even accept prasadam nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, the Krishna consciousness person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness, and because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. So here the purport ends. Start with pranam mantras. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chashkuram Vilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Padanti Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sarana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sarana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpa trubhasya kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha namo om Vishnupadaya Krishna prasthaya bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Swanyavadi Paschasya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So first, let us set the scene before getting into the verses and its purport. And right now we are discussing chapter 6 and what is the connectivity between chapter 5 and chapter 6. The connection we have discussed that is Ashtanga Yoga established it as an empirical path, and therefore one should reject it in favor of Bhakti Yoga. Straight away, Krishna, not recommending this yoga practice, this Ashtanga Yoga practice or Dhyana Yoga. It is not, recommended in this, age. And Ashtanga Yoga was mentioned in 5.227, just to, set the scene for chapter 6. And see, the problem with this, another thing is mentioned, purified. Before getting into this Dhyana Yoga, one should have possess these three qualities. Already one should be purified with Nishkama Karma Yoga. One must be in full control of mind. One must be completely indifferent to and unaffected by all material things. So this is a chapter, background, and let us get into this particular chapter and Dhyana Yoga. And Dhyana Yoga basically divided into 6 divisions, and presently we are dealing with the 3rd division. Previously we have discussed about 2 more division, that is advancing in yoga through detached work, and then the 2nd division is the Yoga Rudha stage, giving up the work itself, and the 3rd stage which we are presently in, further stages in the practice of yoga. How to understand this further stages in the practice of yoga, which deals with verse number 10 to 32. Presently we are in 16 and 17, and further this 3rd section is divided into 2 more sections for understanding. That is the section A, we are going to finish it today. That is verse number 10 to 17. So we are in 16 and 17 verse. The complete 10th verse to 17th verse we have been discussing about basic practices of meditation. So how to practice, these are the techniques. Meditation is the advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga. So this is the understand. So that means advanced stage of Ashtanga Yoga means how the meditation could be done. These are the techniques. And the Second division is perfection in meditation, and all other divisions are out of our scope. All other divisions are like this: necessity of controlling the turbulent mind, and the destination of the unsuccessful yogi, and the topmost yogi. So these all are further divisions till 47th verse. And today, before getting into the verse, let us understand the flow of the verses here. In the 10th verse, we understood that one must be free of possessiveness and material desires to practice Ashtanga Yoga. So possessiveness and material desires, person should come out of it. Then from 11th to 14th, one must sit down on a proper seat and fix the mind on one point. So these are the techniques, to get into this Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. Here it is mentioned. Now, 15th verse. Last week, what we discussed was, thus Krishna describes the goal of Ashtanga Yoga as attainment of kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. Right? Thus, Krishna describes the goal of Ashtanga Yoga as attainment of the kingdom of God by cessation of material existence. That we learned. We heard from Vidura Prabhu last week, and today we are going to deal about. What is the connectivity between previous verse and today's verses? Krishna next warns of some obstacles to the aspiring yogis' progress. So Krishna gives warnings. So this is already he told in the beginning only it is not possible. Further, Krishna gives warnings. There are so many obstacles, and in this verse, common theme. These two verses. What is the common theme is regulated lifestyle. A yogi must keep careful balance in eating, sleeping, recreation, and work. So this is what the common theme between these two verses. And what is the practical application of these two verses are: regulation of body is essential in spiritual life. Okay, it provides peacefulness and a fit body conducive for spiritual life. So this is the little background about connectivity to the today's verses, and I'd like to share a couple of slides for better understanding, which is relevant to today's verses. Before that, let me connect with the purport. Let us go through the purport, then I will come back. The 16th verse purport deals about regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad Gita. So here it is mentioned, the goodness, right? From the purport, I'm just, the mode of goodness. So I would like to, show one of the comparison chart. The person who is in mode of goodness, the person who is in the mode of, Rajo, and the person who is in the mode of Tamo, right? Sattva, and then Rajo and Tamasa. In English, we could tell, passion, and ignorance. Thanks, Maharaj. Right. So I'd like to share that. Yeah, I hope it is visible. This is from 17th chapter and 8th to 10th verse. It is mentioned there. So from the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that mode of goodness as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So the from the left side, the third column mentions about type of foods. In all three. The one who is in Sattva Guna, they will take, juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. This is the type of food the person who is in Sattva Guna will take. And the person who is in Rajoguna and the person who is in Tamoguna, let us see, too bitter, too sour, salty, pungent, dry, and burning. Such a food, those who are in the mode of Rajasic, and the types in the Tamoguna, types of foods prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten. Then food that is tasteless, decomposed, and putrid. And then food consisting of remnants and untouchable things. So the person who is in mode of goodness always prefer to eat juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. But in other two more gunas, it is too hot, too pungent, too burning, and tasteless, and which is so what to say, remains that untouchable, things like that. And what is the effect of how this the yogi is related to this food stuffs? It is being given that what is the effect of that food consumption with the different three gunas. The one who is in sattva guna, what is the effect? We will see. The sattva guna food increases the duration of life. What is the purpose of eating life? To alive, to keep our body alive. Then increase the duration of life. That is the effect of sattva guna food. And then purifies one's existence. So complete the purification happens in the bodily process because of such a food consumption. Then gives strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. So we can understand how Prabhupada at the age of 70, going by cargo ship, and then now we need so much of comfort. We need AC, that, this, and all. In such a old age, how a person can travel and circumambulating all over the world, and what is it, untiring lectures, etc. So this gives the strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. But in others case, the mode of Rajo and Tamo, distress, such a food, distress, it will give distress, misery, disease. And then effect of Tamo, infection and disease. So nowadays, we all very familiar. So how people so addicted and to consume outside food through online, etc., etc. I don't want to touch upon that. So these are the three food stuff and effect of consuming that food stuff with respect to different modes of the person. So here, and before getting into the detail of the exact today's verses, one more slide. So I'd like to share some of the points which some 8 or 9 years back, took me first time to the temple to attend one of the course, right? So that course name is Bhakti Sadacha, right? Vaishnava etiquette. So that was my first class attending in the temple. I thought of sharing some of the points from that also. So that is the 11th lesson from that material, honoring prasadam. It is compiled by His Holiness Bhakti Charusha Maharaj. So he is no more, I think, right? So, and here it is mentioned, when a devotee distributes prasadam, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasadam as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees, mentioned in Nectar of Instruction, text 4, purport. So, the consuming food, it is not just like that, we have enough money and we have so much of material opulent. So, the mood of a pure devotee should be like this. I have got a chance to take, the remnants of, Lords. So that should be the mood. And there are 9 points given. Quickly, I'd like to, have a glimpse of that. one should only eat Krishna prasadam. Very simple. Prasadam means which is offered. So locally we call, after Naivedya we can have it. And ideally one should eat food that is cooked by devotees. These are higher standard. If one wants to progress, so these are the things, will help us. Cooked by devotees, offered to the Lord by devotees, served by devotees. Right? So in third point, remembering that Krishna Prasadam is non-different from Krishna. Recite the Sarira Avidyajal prayer to remember that. That means Krishna Prasadam is non-different from Krishna. Right? Honoring Prasadam. We will not take, come and consume or, eat or swallow Prasadam. Here, honoring Prasadam is mentioned. So that is important. And use the, appropriate hand to eat and drink. Some people will eat, both the hand, while eating just loosely. Okay, you give this putting and dumping, like that. So it is one of the etiquette for, the true yogi. If at all, the person is very particular, these are the things they could, follow. And meditate how Krishna tasted the offering. Right? See how tasty it is. That means because it is tasty, tasted this, offering. That is very, very important. Do not, it is not like, this particular dish, how nice it is gulab jamun, how nice it is rasgulla, how nice it is pakoda. Not like that. See how tasty it is because it is tasted by the Lord. That is the reason, it is so nice. And do not talk while honoring prasadam. Right? So that is general, we all know. Do not throw prasadam, throwing just in some places we can find all this stuff. Never touch prasadam with your feet. Wash hands, feet and mouth before and after eating. At least wash your hands. In the Western countries, it may not be difficult. It may be difficult to wash your feet, but in India you should wash both your hands and feet before and after taking prasad. More perfectionist. If one wants to progress, so these are the etiquette, given. And drink a glass of water 1 hour before eating. Drink a glass of water 1 hour before eating. For some time after eating, don't drink. For some time after eating, don't drink. If at all have to drink something hot. So these are the, etiquette under honoring prasadam. It was given 11.1. In 11.2, this is also relevant to that. So lot of, sharing. This is serving the prasadam. Not only eating, how to serve also one should, understand, for towards, perfection towards, honoring prasadam like that. Everyone should be invited to sit and prasadam should be served by qualified devotees. Right? It is useful for, grasthas. Those who are serving should be very clean, peaceful and satisfied. Those who are serving, they should not be so, hurry or some kind of, okay, next batch come, okay, you just, get up like that. They should eat before serving if necessary. They should try not to speak while serving. It's better not to speak. Serve just the right amount of that, nothing is wasted. Prasadam should not be wasted. In ISKCON, it's very particular. I have experience personally when I went, first time, some, 9 years before, there was some devotees standing. So they were asking, plates. I thought of handing over, those plates. They're asking for something. So the mood is we should not waste anything. That means this Krishna Prasad is such an important, the devotees want to emphasize for the newcomers. So like that, I learned, like that. Then householders should serve the guests, seniors, elders. Children should be served first. Not only that, this is the order. Guests, seniors, elders, children. And place salt and lemon on each plate before those to be served or seated. Always serve water first. And then order of serving also given. Maybe some Matajis could, understand this better. Rice, chapatis, then bitter preparations, then spinach, then fried preparations and dal, various spicy vegetables, sour item, sweet preparation. Sweet is at the end. Here it is mentioned to be served. So initially rice, chapatis.
ISKCON పుట్టిన గురించి ప్రిపరేషన్ ఎట్లా చేయాలి, ఎట్లా తీసుకోవాలి,
And then
స్వీట్ హాట్.
And again it is repeated, never touch prasadam with your feet or step over it. And using proper utensils. Some people when I was young, I the last left out the chutney or something will be there in the vessel like kadai or something, putting some food in, rice or some chapati in that, and then a cooker or something, and started eating from that vessel only, right? That is not recommended. So there should be a separate vessel for serving as well as for eating. And don't make so much of noise while eating. While somebody while eating, they'll make so much of noise with and opening the mouth and laughing, some bad posture and all, it is being mentioned. And after everyone has finished honoring the prasadam, clean the place immediately. So that place should not be left awkward or just careless, laziness like that. So this is for I thought of a quick sharing about that. But let us come to the today's verses. Yeah, give me a minute. So today's verses purport I will share. That is also in the form of one of the tabular column. Give me a Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare. It's taking some time. It's a PDF file, so it takes some time to come on the screen. Yes, I got it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So this is a summary kind of a thing, as I mentioned earlier. So as we are seeing here, the tabular column, I hope the screen is visible. Hare Krishna. Yes, someone can acknowledge it.
Yes,
Hare Krishna.
It's visible.
Yes. Thanks. So as I mentioned, today's verses are 16 and 17. So this is a comparison chart between Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana yogis and then Krishna consciousness devotees. And here it is all about criteria. The criteria here it is mentioned: eating, sleeping, regulated in work and recreation, and regulation in lifestyle. So let us look into this later. And before getting into this verse, let us understand the brief summary of what we have discussed in 10th verse to 15th verse. So the items are that difference between Ashtanga yogi and Krishna consciousness person, based on the principle, based on relationship with Supreme, place of practice, mind control, consciousness free of desire and possessiveness, manner of sitting, celibacy, fearlessness, object of meditation, goal of life, result, ultimate goal of yoga practice. These are the points. So in that, the 15th verse only we will take it for the reference. The result is ultimate goal of yoga practice, cessation of all material existence, kingdom of God achieved only by one in perfect understanding of Krishna. Right? It's very rare. And here, in case of devotees, devotee is a perfect yogi because always observed in Krishna's service and has perfect understanding of Krishna, like Ambrish Maharaj. So in the previous verse, it is concluded that ultimate goal of yoga practice. So devotee is a perfect yogi. Why? Always observed in Krishna's service and has perfect understanding of Krishna. That is the quality of Krishna consciousness person and Ashtanga Yogi. Now we will come to today's verse, purport. The criteria here it is given is regulation in lifestyle. What is this regulation in lifestyle? How to understand this? This extravagance in the four demands of the body: eating, sleeping, mating, defending, is a block in advancement of any yoga. Reduce the volume. Reduce the volume. It is echo. Sorry, correction. So here, extravagance in the four demands of the body: eating, there is no restraint on all these things. Uncontrolled, eating, sleeping, mating, defending is a block in advancement of any yoga system. But the person, this is applicable for the devotees also, but if the person who is in regulated, way of eating, sleeping, mating, defending, then he could be a perfect yogi. That is the first point. Now we will come to the concept of eating. Now, what is the quantity? For Ashtanga Yogi, yogis should eat only what is required to keep body and soul together. Anything more is too much eating. Now, quantity for a devotee: eats only limited. What is the quantity for a devotee? Eats only limited. Fast only according to scriptural injunctions. No adding, speculative way of doing all this and all. No artificial concocted fasting. No artificial concocted fasting. So here, eats only limited. So it is being, more elaborately mentioned. We all are practicing devotees. Depends on age and depends on time and circumstances, whether it may be breakfast or lunch. We have been discussing so many times with our friends and colleagues. But here it is very simply mentioned that only limited. Right? In one of the temple lecture I heard was so touching. The moment the devotee or anybody, the mind will give some signal or dilemma whether to have one more idli or one more chapati, like that, one should stop eating, it seems. And for nature call, if sometimes we feel let me go for a washroom or something, when the dilemma comes we should go. Just opposite, how to maintain the body. Here it is totally opposite. While eating, if we get dilemma, we should stop. But if we go for nature call, if we are dilemma, immediately we have to say, tick the box. Yes, we will go for, like that. So that is a limit. And fast only according to scriptural injunctions. It's very, very important point for a devotee. But it is very difficult for, the yogi, the one who meditates and the one who renounces, his daily activities, all those things. And according to scriptural injunctions. So here, upavasa, everybody should understand what is the real meaning of upavasa. Upavasa means, not for, becoming slim and projecting, my body is so beautiful. I am, this. Yeah, it is good only. Maintaining good health is recommended. But in what sense? In what mood? So according to scriptural injunction, upavasa means, upa means near and vasa means living. So that is the day one can live so close to the Lord. How one could, close to the Lord, controlling all our senses, not only our tongue, controlling all our senses on that day, thinking of Krishna, speaking about Krishna, reading about Krishna, whatever, Navavida Bhakti. So one could, try to maximize on that particular day. And as per the, scriptural injunction, not with, any speculative way. Somebody will tell, you take aulaki. Aulaki is also, considered as fasting, but in ISKCON it is recommended. It's very straight, guidelines given. So, many Matajis are familiar with that. So we can, take guidance from seniors and how to do, this especially Ekadasi fasting, right? And no artificial concocted fasting. No, this is accepted. No, it is there in the scripture, but I will not follow. It is not, like that. But the practicality, one should, get acknowledged by the senior, Vaishnavas are under the guidance of Guru. Next, that is about quantity of the food. So it is Ashtanga Yoga. It is already, yogi should eat only what is required to keep body and soul together. It is anything more is too much. That is the reference given. Now we will move from quantity to quality. For Ashtanga Yogi, only food in goodness. Just in the previous slide, I have shown what are the different types of food coming under goodness. And number 2, food must be offered in yajna. Otherwise, one eats only sin. Bhagavad Gita 3.13. It is mentioned like that. Right? Otherwise, we are eating verily sin. And the third point mentioned this no meat eating, right? Or intoxications. Right? These all are the quality under Ashtanga Yoga. Now we'll move to Krishna consciousness. Only Krishna Prasadam. Only Krishna Prasadam. Refer Bhagavad Gita 9.26. It is mentioned already in 17th verse purport 9.26. So I'd like to recall that verse 9.26. Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhakta prayachate tat aham bhakti upahartam asnami prayatam manaha prayatatmanaha. So what is the meaning of this? Patram pushpam palam toyam. That means with the devotion, this is the quality. What should be the quality of a food? Only Krishna Prasadam, right? So let me just confirm 9.26. 26. Yes, I'm right. So according to this verse, so along with bhakti, right? Patram pushpam palam toyam, either a flower or a fruit or a water or a leaf. Out of this, if you offer with bhakti, Lord will come and accept. That is only Krishna Prasadam. So in ISKCON, it is recommended not to take outside food, and there are so many guidelines are there. So this is recommended for a Krishna consciousness person, the one who is practicing Bhakti Yoga, not this Dhyana Yoga, right? So this is the quality of a food. So Prasada means that here it is mentioned that the food which is there with so much of Bhakti, right, which is cooked. I just in Bhakti Sadachar I read, so the food which is cooked by a devotee and then offered by a devotee and then served by a devotee has got a more meaning to realize this particular verse. Next, most important is sleeping. And before getting into this point, sleeping, and Arjuna has got a name, Gudakesha. So the Gudakesha means the one who conquered the sleep and laziness. But in Kali Yuga, all we all are practicing devotee. This sleeping matter is very challenging one, right? And particularly it is mentioned, for yogis, if more than 6 hours are lazy, then the one who eats more, they will get so much of dreaming, keep on, dreaming, not waking up, early morning, all these things. So that is about sleeping more than 6 hours. They are call it as, lazy, or it leads to dreaming so much due to overconsumption of food stuff. And for Krishna consciousness person, that example as well as, the following, Avyartha Kalatva. And example, Rupa Goswami and Srila Haridas Thakura. So in the purport we read, Haridas Thakura will be, keep on chanting. He without completion of chanting, he will not, come for honoring prasadam, right? And Rupa Goswami. So we read in the purport. Once again, I will relate when we discuss on that particular point. And then the third one is regulated in work and recreation. What is this regulated in work and recreation? For yogis, it is not mentioned, because totally they are away from, they have renounced their work also. So here nothing is mentioned for them. Works only for Krishna, no desire for sense gratification, therefore no material leisure required, right? So here recreation means, see, works only for Krishna, no desire for sense gratification, therefore no material leisure. So this is what understanding about regulated in work and yogi will not work anything. Simply he sits and meditates in a secluded place. Then benefit of regulation for a Krishna consciousness person. Benefit of regulation for Krishna consciousness person. What is the benefit? Regulation in all above bodily activities brings to a state of no material misery. Regulation in all above bodily activities brings to a state of no material misery. So that is what here it is emphasized. So this is about the purport of the comparison chart with respect to Ashtanga Yogi and Krishna consciousness person. So again we'll move to the purport where we left in the 16th verse. And animal food for those in the mode of ignorance. Again, I mentioned in the chart, those who are in the mode of darkness, they consume this. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, eating food with which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. And anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. So it is recommended to, before eating, it's better to offer to Krishna and then we can have it. How to offer and all these things. There is a detailed procedure is there in ISKCON. Anybody can understand easily. One who eats sins over a time. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. We have seen in the table. It is very difficult, overeating, sleep, laziness will come, and dreaming, over dreaming will come. It is best that one eat only the remains of foodstuff offered to Krishna. Yes. And a person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. And I'm remembering, this offering of Krishna. One of the temple lecture I heard, one Western devotee, he was in charge of, maintaining one, what is that? Prabhupada, the farmland, he said. There is so much of, apple trees, in that season, so much of apple in that country, apple is so famous. And that devotee used to say, I have offered, the entire trees to Krishna. I will take, apple and eat. No, it is not like that. We have to pluck that apples and then wash it, rinse it properly, and then, cut properly, and then, in a more, eatable way, we have to offer to Krishna and then to eat. So in this fast world, we feel that, we don't have time. So sometimes, people used to keep the whole cooker only inside the altar and then take it away. These are the, different kind of process. But try to, get information from senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So we can also practice slowly and gradually. We can also, try to practice to become, perfect yogi in the Krishna consciousness. And therefore, only the Krishna consciousness person can attain perfection in yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practicing yoga. So many a times, some of the people used to say, so I thought of, having fasting. Just give me a minute, Hare Krishna. I have not connected charger to my laptop. Anyway, so I resumed back, no problem. Hare Krishna. Now the 16th verse, ends. How does not fast or eat more he does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than required. Yes, night dinner, if somebody consumes too much, sleeps, eats late night. So one should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. But Arjuna is a Gudakesha. And we all are what Kesha, I don't know. If we, not conquered sleep and laziness. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga, right? Generally, when we talk, the one who eats too much, bogi, rogi, yogi, all these things, we will tell. It's like that. Then the 17th, verse purport. So there is no restraint in, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga, right? As well as for devotees is mentioned. But devotees are so regulated. As far as eating is concerned, can be regulated only when is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered according to Bhagavad Gita, that is 9.26, Patram Pushpam. That verse, it is mentioned here. And then quickly I'll like to wrap up the 17th verse. A Krishna consciousness person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. This is a symptom of pure devotee. So because everything is connected with Krishna, everything for pleasure of Krishna, all the activities, anything A to Z connected with Krishna, related with Krishna. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who has always engaged in the service of Krishna, always engaged, who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day. Srila Rupa Goswami, who could not sleep even 2 hours in a day. The person who is in Rajogun, he will be working, more than 8 hours, 12 hours, and while sleeping also, if I sleep, I will lose some 1 crore money or some, my post or something. The Rajoguna people, that too much or under also not recommended. In the verse, it is clearly, mentioning, So too much also not recommended and less also not recommended. Right? Those who are in Rajoguna, they will fall into this. And those who are in Sattva-guna, they will have a regulated way of things. We would have heard, so many Prabhupada, pastimes. So Prabhupada, wherever he land, he will, turn his watch. For that mood, for a devotees, that is also Sattva-guna. And for Rajoguna, making money, day and night I will work. Right? Prabhupada mentioned, we are like, hares and dogs. We are working. And then Thakura Haridasa would not even accept prasadam nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads. 300, 1,000 names. We are, trying to chant 12 rounds in the morning. Sometimes, personally, sometimes I feel sleepy or sometimes I feel, lazy or sometimes, all these things are changed. But the practicing devotee gradually can, elevate to themselves to get into the right process by getting, inspiration from pure devotees like Haridas Thakura and Srila Rupa Goswami. As far as work is concerned, Krishna consciousness person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest. And thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. So there is nothing called, material. Here only the soul concept. There is no question of, for devotees, bodily concept. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no sense gratification. Anything is bodily need or bodily, perception, then it is sense gratification. There is no material leisure for a person in Krishna Gand. Material leisure. No, let me go for, what I can say, some Europe trip, US trip, all these things. Let us go for yatra. That is blissful. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, and wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. the one who is so perfect in this, in the second chapter, it is mentioned that what are the symptoms of a pure devotee, how he sits, how he speaks, how he, does, how he walks, everything is more elaborately, it is mentioned in the verses 35 to 39 or something. So how the pure devotee sits and, speaks. So whomever you see, whomever, with whatever, you speak, say, one example, one of our devotee today also, was sharing. See, as a karmi, I will go and discuss. See how Ambani is so rich like that. Then the devotee is moved. Then see, Lord has given all those riches to him. Then how rich the Lord should be. Like that. So pure devotee's mind and mood, always understanding all the opulences of the Lord. So, here I would like to conclude today's topic, and give me a minute. Just once again, I'm concluding with reading the purport of these two verses. There is the 16th verse. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. Oh Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. So here it is not recommended anything high or anything is less. It should be a regulated. The word used, by Prabhupada, it should be a regulated, one. And the 17th verse, he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate, right? Restrain all material pains. So the material pains will come down by practicing the yoga system. So here I would like to stop for today's discussion on the 16th and 17th verse. And once again, thanks for all the devotees for patiently hearing, and thanks for giving this opportunity. Hare Krishna. Or to Vidra Prabhu and devotees. If you have any sharing or any questions, most welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hitesh Madhav Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Prabhuji, quite elaborate, and it was, that comparison chart was good. One general question, Prabhu, on related to yoga, not specific to this verses, but I don't know. So, these Ashtanga yogis or Jnana yogis, Karma yogis, they are all lower ladder. But is it that they remain permanently there? Like, for example, Jnana yogi merge into existence, personal existence, okay? And Ashtanga yogi, they are going to Samadhi. Are those souls are going to be there throughout eternity like that, or they may come to Bhakti Yoga in future? I don't know. Or is it their permanent constitutional position? That I just wanted to understand more.
Yes, Prabhu. Thanks for your interest on understanding the position of Ashtanga yogi. So see, the Ashtanga yogi cannot directly get into the direct answer. First for I think the screen is visible for others, those who are listening. So the yoga ladder, first we should understand from the bottom. So first the one who is in animal life, then from animal life to karma kanda, that is human life. So here what is the position of this yoga ladder is, this person in karma kanda interested in satisfying material desires, and then karma yoga, that means accept the transcendental goal and is known as yoga practitioner. Up to karma yoga, person could be called it as yoga practitioner. Okay. And then in jnana yoga, patient to goodness and increased knowledge and detachment. They will come to the platform of jnana yoga. So once the person who attained, this is the ladder, jnana yoga, then the person will move to ashtanga yoga. That is what presently, our discussion. Now I'd like to answer to your question. See the stage here in the right hand side, it is mentioned within the realm of the modes. Still the ashtanga yogi, whatever the restraint and whatever the yoga practice, keeping focus on between two eyebrows and sitting on the deer skin and sitting erect with some particular posture, etc. But whatever it may be, the Ashtanga Yogi is still within the boundary of this, modes. Okay, Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu.
The Ashtanga Yogi still is in the mode of, these three, Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna, all these things. Okay. But the one, the devotee, you can see here, beyond the modes. That is a basic difference between, this yogi and, devotee. Right? Bhakti Yoga. See, the Bhakti Yoga person not falling into this, three modes. He is beyond, all those modes. That is a difference. The yogi, whatever, he restrained, but anytime he may fall down, since he is within these modes. Even if the person in Sattva Guna, he is so knowledgeable, he is so comfortable, right? That is also, attachment, right? That may get affected, in Ashtanga Yoga. But in Bhakti Yoga, there is no question of all these things because already the person beyond all the modes. That is Suddha Sattva. That means Suddha Sattva means for detailed understanding. We just, in the chart we have seen what is the Sattva Guna. In Sattva Guna, a tinge of, Rajo and Tamo joins, then because of due to that contamination, this Sattva Guna, not a Suddha Sattva. There is no stinge of, this little bit of Rajo or Tamo into the Sattva, then it is a Suddha Sattva. So like Prabhupada mentions, how the woman, waves, her hair in 3 layers. It is like that. We are, binded within this. But the Ashtanga Yogi still falls under this. Maybe that bunch, the Sattva Guna may be more, but still that stinge of, these things could be fall into Ashtanga Yogis. But for devotees, they are above all this. So for Ashtanga Yogi can move to Brahman realization and Paramatma realization directly. But they cannot, Ashtanga Yogi can go directly to this, Bhakti Yoga. That is, Bhagavan realization, Ashtanga Yogi cannot go directly. Another, this is one answer is still the Ashtanga Yogi within the realm of 3 modes. And this devotee, the Krishna consciousness person or Sthita Prajna, they are falling into this, Bhakti Yoga. They can directly go to the Bhagavan realization. This is a different subject, Bhagavan realization, Brahman realization, and Paramatma realization. But for as your question, there are 2 things I would like to conclude. And this is within the mode of, though the Ashtanga Yoga is still within the 3 modes, but devotee is above all. And only for devotee, it is opportunity to go to Bhakti Yoga. For Ashtanga Yogi, he has to go to, either Brahman realization or Paramatma realization. Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhu, to further to that, to your question.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Ashtanga
No,
Yogi,
thanks,
you said
Prabhu.
you
I got it. It's quite elaborate. Yeah, Prabhu, please.
Yes,
Add, Prabhu.
so your point, he reaches Brahma realization, is that all? He will remain there permanently or not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if
Eternally, it's like eternally. Will he be there eternally?
Correct. So the idea is, if you go there, he either has Brahman realization or Paramatma realization. So if he is choosing that Brahman realization, then is that the final, is it going to be eternally there? So the question to that is, the answer to that is, it is a huge point in time where he will be in that bliss. Because that is also above, like Prabhu said, it is above the modes nature, it is in the liberated stage. But it is not that, you will have an inclination to stay there for long. It could be maybe 1 million years also. But the nature of the soul is that it will start looking for that relationship. Or, relationship means like how we go into the spiritual world, you have a personal relationship with the Supreme Lord. Like, you have friends, you have some feelings, you have rasas. That is not there in the Brahma Jyoti. So the soul, after a point in time, will sort of get little bored. It wants to have activities. So from that Brahma Jyoti, it will come down to the material world to have this enjoyment again. So you may go back into that cycle again, loop. But if you go to the Paramatma realization and from there further proceed to the Bhagavan realization, then what that soul's need of having engagement, having relationship, having rasas, that means experience this wonderful exchange between different souls, right? That is there in the spiritual world, therefore you don't come back down. So that's the difference. Brahmajyoti, there is a chance of falling back down, but in the other Paramatma realization and further movement to Bhakti, to the devotional thing, you don't fall down from there. But here, there is a chance of fall down, but the time could be very, very long, more than how it is in Satyaloka, the heaven, if you go, you may enjoy for X number of time, but in Brahmajyoti, it may be even more time. Satyaloka is material, but Brahmajyoti is not material. But nonetheless, you can't stay there for permanently. You may come down. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
Thanks for adding details.
Thanks.
That is for audience, it is another elaborated, point. It is Brahman realization, and then what is this? Paramatma realization, and then Bhagavan realization. So it is like understanding, this is confidential knowledge, more confidential knowledge, most confidential knowledge. So for simple understanding. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or suggestions? Welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks for Dandvat Pranam, Prabhu. Thanks for the wonderful class. Very detailed class. Very practical stuff we discussed. But that makes it very challenging also, because the practicality is the detail of practical stuff here mentioned is kind of tough, like you said in Kali Yuga. For instance, detail like bitter, sweet, and so much of things, segregation, and we don't even know these things. So how to even practice it? We just know basic few things, and that's how we go about it. So very kind of tough, but keeping to whatever simple stuff we know, we can practice it. Whatever we see senior devotees practicing in the temple, what they practice and what we taste there and all those things. So, but overall, very wonderful class, a lot of detail. Thank you.
Prabhupada mentioned, the message what we are speaking is pavitram, which is pure. So it is always, taste, good. Hare Krishna.
Just want to add here also, very interesting topic. So I'm sorry. And see here, Prabhu had a chart where he talks about these different aspects of, the heart and all of that. When he put the chart of Ashtanga Yoga, he put that all those things like goodness. He put that thing called goodness. But when it came to Bhakti Yogi, it says only prasadam. So this kind of definition sort of becomes merged. That means when you offer it to the Lord, it is all already built into that. Like, he already said, right, you only offer patram pushpam phalam toyam and related stuff, not anything which is like pungent, untouchable. They are already excluded. If you see, the ignorant stuff is already excluded what you are offering. So you are already saved by taking Krishna Prasadam. And naturally, when you are offering, see, that's the beauty of it, right? See, if you are offering, like, if today Achyuta Prabhu is coming home, I will want to offer him nice stuff, not something like very, very hot, very, this pungent, or, it's very too much of Ugra Karma. I may like it, but Achyuta Prabhu, when he comes, I want to give him in a nice, mild way, not too much of hot food, not so like that. When you prepare for Krishna, it's for Krishna's tongue, not for my tongue. So it's already built in. You prepare nice food stuff which is already sattvic, So that way, if you are simply offering food, that's why in that column, if you see, that was very nice thing when I saw. Not too much complication, simply prasadam. And what is prasadam? That is where, as we develop consciousness, we understand how to give nicely, right? We don't want to put so much of salt, so much of thing, That is for Krishna. When you offer that and when you eat, you are already protected. That's why I'm saying, you put so much of, eat so much, and then you do some exercises to reduce that. You run on the same place, right? On the, whatever that machine you run. But why? When you do devotional service, everything is automatically built in. You don't need to do anything extra. When you eat properly, as Prabhu was saying, then where is the need to go and have other problems, and because of which to go and what do you call, reform that problem? If you are simply being a devotee, everything is already built into that. Nothing extra is needed. That's why Kali Yuga is very, very simple. Simply be a devotee. Everything is taken care. Nothing extra is needed. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, bro. Nice point. Nice,
Yeah.
right
Thanks.
conversions. Right.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, very, very, very nice session. It's it's to the point, pinpointed. The importance of prasadam came out very, very well. So thank you very, very much. It'll be really nice if we can get a copy of just that sheet, or just how do you offer prasadam in that in the right respectful way, right? But I love the session, right? It talks about the love with which you serve God, and when that is done, right, and then you consume that food, it's only going to be nectar, right? It cannot be poison in your body, right? So very nice. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for sharing. Initial stages, many times I used to call Vidura Prabhu or Mataji for Ekadasi, what to do, whether to remove this, whether to do this, that. So always with the guidance of senior devotees, we are always protected. Right.
Okay.
Nice.
So
Thanks for sharing.
thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class. Lot of okay. Sorry, I was on mute. So thank you for this wonderful class. Lot of details you shared, and brought out the clear depth of in those two things of eating too much, eating too less, or sleeping too much, sleeping too less. Within that, how we refine our life. Thank you very much. Appreciate your effort in compiling all these things and presenting it nicely. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you, devotees, for attending today's session. As always, we have long sessions, almost 2 hours plus, but all of you are patiently participating and actively, sharing and asking questions and all that. Very nice. Thank you all very much. So we will continue the enthusiasm through the week in devotional life, and next week again we will meet. Of course, we do have in between the reading session, the chanting session, and we will see how we can increase our devotional life. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna. Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, devotees on the YouTube. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.